You're listening to School Counseling Simplified, a podcast with easy-to-implement strategies for busy school counselors. Here's your host, Rachel Davis from Bright Futures Counseling.
Does the thought of teaching class lessons overwhelm you? Out of everything in my school counseling career, classroom lessons were one of the things I felt the least prepared for. We definitely didn't learn this in grad school. When you look back at the first half of the school year, are you cringing at some mistakes you made? Believe me, I can relate. I definitely made some mistakes along the way, which is why I want to share what I've learned with you. Join me in my free live masterclass, 3 Mistakes Counselors Make in the Classroom and What to Do Instead. I'll be teaching you how to keep students engaged, manage behaviors, and measure your lessons' effectiveness so you can feel prepared and confident going into this year's lessons. Go to stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/mistakes to save your seat. Hey there, thanks for listening to the School Counseling Simplified podcast. So far this month, we've been talking a lot about classroom counseling lessons. And I briefly mentioned some data collection strategies that you can use, at a couple minutes at the end of your lesson. But what I really want to focus on today is the power of a ticket out the door. Now, you may have heard of ticket out the doors. There are things teachers use sometimes just to do a quick check-in on understanding. And it's something counselors can totally use too. So the reason we want to collect data during our classroom counseling lessons is because we want to be able to measure their effectiveness. So often we do this for our groups and our individual students, but we don't really think to do it with our class lessons. But if you think about it, that's where we're affecting the most kiddos. So we want to make sure it's effective. We can then use that data to modify our lessons to make sure that we're improving them year after year and that we're reaching the most students possible. This data also comes in handy if you've based your lessons around a deficit. So for example, if you talk to your admin and you say, hey, what are some problems we're facing at our school? And he says, oh, we've had so many referrals for impulse control. Well, then you do an impulse control lesson. Now you can collect data to see if it's actually working, if the students feel like they now know the impulse control strategies, and then you can see if the referrals went down. So data is super helpful, super powerful. You guys know I love it. I talk about data all the time. But I want to specifically talk about the power of a ticket out the door in this episode. This is a simple data collection tool that you can use during your class lessons. Now, I started creating ticket out the doors for little ones, for like those pre-K, K, and first grade lessons. So these were completely symbol-based, no writing or anything. You can definitely do these at the older grades too, but with the older grades, you may, be able to do a self-assessment with ease or a little pre-test, post-test with ease. But for the little guys, ticket out the door is great. Or like I said, you can use it with anyone. Let's talk about the pros and cons of using a ticket out the door. So the pros are that it's quick, it's easy, so that means you'll actually do it, and it's a way to collect data. Now the cons are you're not going to have as specific data as you do the other methods because there's no pre-data. It's just like a post-lesson reflection piece. And it's so quick and simple, I don't even ask for names. So you end up getting like a percentage based, right? So it's kind of like, out of these 10 that were turned in, 7 of the students felt this way. 3 of the students felt this way. So you can say, about 70% of the class thinks this. So it's more generalized data, but believe me, no data is bad data. So I wanted to share this episode because I think this is a great place for you to get started, especially if you've never tried collecting data in your classroom counseling lessons before. I encourage you to start with this simple strategy, and then you can always go more complex down the road. So you may be thinking, wait, did she say you don't even need names? And that's absolutely right. So let me give you a few examples of a ticket out the door. So let's say we're doing a self-control lesson, like I mentioned, and we're teaching different strategies. Let's say we teach 3 different strategies we want the kids to focus on. Your ticket out the door could say, which of the strategies do you want to try? Or which of the strategies, are you excited to use next? And then you'll have the 3 different strategies. Now for the little guys, they may not even be able to read. We don't want to waste a lot of time with the kids writing out the strategies. So what I do is symbols. So on the board, I'll have a symbol of a circle, a triangle, and a square. And each one will represent a different self-control strategy. And then on the student paper, it's a circle, triangle, square, and they just color the corresponding one. So it's like, okay, color in the circle if you want to try deep breaths. Color in the triangle if you want to try counting to 10. Color in the square if you want to try writing in a journal. And then they quickly color it in and they hand it out the door. Or more likely, you're walking out the door because let's say you came to their classrooms. You can quickly go around and collect them and then you walk out the door. Then you can sort through them and, like I said, get that general percentage of, okay, 60% of the kids really want to try deep breaths, but, and then we have 20% want to try the journal and 20% want to try I forgot what my other one was. But we see 60% of kids want to try counting to 10. But we see 60% of the kids want to try deep breaths. Perfect. Maybe we need to do a follow-up lesson or provide the teacher with some videos or breathing exercises or something so they can really dig deeper on this aspect of the class lesson. You only got 30 minutes. You only got to talk about it so much, but maybe they can dig a little deeper. So that's always an option. And like I said, you don't even need names. Or if you don't want to do the shapes, you could just have it where they write one word, or it could even be like a yes or no question, an A, B, C, D if you give them some multiple choice. Now, what this does is it gives us instant feedback. We can always send out surveys to parents and teachers, and I encourage you to do this, asking them, how they feel the class lessons are going, if they've even seen a difference in their child since they started doing the class lessons, or seen a difference in their students since you started coming in for lessons. Those are great surveys to have, but those are a little more time intensive, right? You're going to send them out to teachers and they're going to answer later and yada, yada, yada. This is very quick and easy. You get instant feedback to see how your lesson was. It could even be checking for understanding. Let's say you taught about growth mindset and your main thing you were trying to teach is how the brain is, malleable, or the brain is like Play-Doh, right? And the main takeaway you want your students to learn from that lesson is that their brain can change as they try challenging things. So you could ask a yes or no question, take it out the door. Do you believe that your brain can change when you try challenging things or when you don't give up? Yes or no? Have the kids write yes or no. Or they could circle a yes or a no. Or write a Y or an N, or color in a Y or an N. You can get as simple or creative as you want to. But then you can see, did that work? That was literally the whole purpose of your lesson. If you get a lot of no's, something's wrong. You need to use this instant feedback to modify your lesson. And you're probably doing this lesson multiple times. So if you get this from the first class, that was kind of your trial run. You need to tweak it so it can be better for the future classes. And then maybe you can even revisit that class or, provide the teacher with some supplemental materials or something like that. Now, this could be digital if you want to get fancy. You could just go through, Google Forms and have the kids just click one or two things. Although the whole point of the ticket out the door is to be super simple. So if you want to go digital and your kids are super proficient digitally, go for it, one-on-one devices and whatnot. But I think the plain old paper and pencil win this time. And that's me saying that. And I love digital stuff, especially when it comes to data. And like I mentioned earlier, it could be more advanced. You can use those self-assessments or those pre-post tests. And I encourage you to do those things and try them as well. But this is kind of like the entry level, the gateway data tool, if you will, to collecting classroom counseling data. You can still get good results from a very simple ticket out the door. Okay, guys, I hope you feel encouraged to try this. Try one out. Send me a message on Instagram at Bright Futures Counseling if you've tried to take it out the door. Send me a little picture of what yours looks like. I'm so curious. Let me know if it's working for you or not. I hope you found this episode super helpful. If you're interested in this topic, if you're looking for more ways to improve your classroom lessons, you've got to check out my free live masterclass where I'll be sharing 3 mistakes counselors make in the classroom and what to do instead. You're going to walk away with strategies to keep students engaged, manage behaviors, and measure your lessons' effectiveness so you can feel prepared and confident going into this year's lessons. Now, I'm offering a few different times so you can pick the one that works best for you. Check out all the details and sign up at stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/mistakes. Okay, I hope to see you there.
Thanks for listening to School Counseling Simplified. You can find the links from today's episode in the show notes. If you'd like to connect with Rachel, she's on Instagram and Teachers Pay Teachers at Bright Futures Counseling. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes of School Counseling Simplified. Talk to you next week.